Good afternoon. My name is Martin Cowart, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour, where we gather together every day at noon Eastern Daylight Time, Monday through Saturday, to love and support each other through this pandemic. This is a sanctuary. This is a safe place for us to come and share our stories, what's going on in our lives, and to meditate and to tap into that infinite intelligence we all have within us to guide us through this pandemic. And again, if you are joining me, please type your name into, let me turn my phone off here. Please type your name or just type into the chat, hello, and let me know you're here. I'm always excited about people joining me, but I only see a number on the screen unless you tell me who you are. And I like to know who you are because I'm glad you're here. A lot of people come regularly, and I like to say hello and invite you to this space because it's not something we do by ourselves. We do this together. And I want to talk a little bit about claiming our infinite intelligence. You know, I read Napoleon Hill's book many times, several years ago, and gave it to clients, gave it to friends. I thought it was a great book. But it was always kind of an intellectual exercise. I never really quite got what, even though it was a contemplative, and I'd been doing contemplative prayer, and I was pretty well connected to my source. I never really quite put the two together. That infinite intelligence and joy of the wise woman are the same thing. Because I didn't ever associate anything that was oriented around money was somewhat spiritual until one day during probably some of my darkest times when I was back in 2017, when I'd come into so much fear. My imposter syndrome was just roaring its head up, and I was literally on the inside just terrorized by money and finances. And here I was, a financial planner, so it was a little embarrassing. So I was in so much conflict inside myself regarding my relationship to money and finances. And the last thing I thought was there's a God that's going to help me with this, you know. Because why hadn't God helped me with it before? You know, if there's a God's going to help you with your money. Where has he been? Where has she been? You know. So I was in this really dark time, and I'm telling the truth. My business was failing. I was close to bankruptcy, and I even had a friend of mine who's a bankruptcy attorney tell me, Martin, you ought to clear bankruptcy. That would solve your problem. And I was like, no, I really want to try to fail. But, you know, and at that time, I was just looking for anything I could do, any client. And I had this one good case, you know, it was a $5,000, not even a great big case, but it was a $5,000 case. And back in those days, $5,000 would have at least paid 2 months mortgage. And I was getting desperate. And I was focused so much on that $5,000 that I had forgotten. I'm going to tell you what I did. I put that money over my client because I was so desperate. And I was coming from so much scarcity and so much fear and so much doubt that I could not see beyond the outcome. And one day it just all evaporated. The deal went away. Boy, was I mad. The client at $5,000 was going to save my life just completely went away. Vanished. I was so mad at those guys, and I was so mad at that situation. I was furious. And I called Teresa. Teresa is my therapist, and she's also my spiritual teacher. And I just had to talk to her because I was so angry about it. What am I going to do? I got to get out. So I called her, and she listened for a little bit, as she did. And she gave me a chance to vent and let myself be frustrated and share the story. And after a little while, she finally said to me, Martin, I hear you. I hear you upset. I hear you upset about this $5,000. But I got a question for you. I said, what's that, Teresa? She says, why are you so upset about $5,000 when you know you have the keys to the kingdom. Now, both of us being spiritual, contemplatives, uh, followers of Jesus, basically the teachings of Jesus is a contemplative practice. I knew exactly what she meant, because when you got the keys to the kingdom, you've got infinite intelligence. And finally, I didn't just hear about infinite. I felt what it was like to live in abundance. I felt the experience. She stopped me so much by inquiring, pushing me through to see the truth. I am abundant and I am infinite intelligence. And when we are coming from that place of infinite intelligence that Napoleon Hill talks about so beautifully in his book, there's nothing we cannot achieve. We can certainly achieve a lot more than $5,000. That's where it comes from. That's the creative genius within us. And that's the core principle that I teach in my prosperity coaching classes, is that we are infinite, we are abundant. And it's all about a mindset. It's all the way we think and we experience the world. You know, there's two mindsets. There's two ways of thinking. There's what we call a scarcity mindset, which all of us in this country, all of us growing up in our culture, have got some degree of. And the scarcity mindset says something like, there's only a finite amount of resources. There's only a finite amount of this. There's only a finite amount of that. And you better get your share or you're not going to get what you need. So we claw our ways to the top and try to prove our value in order to get our share. And we'll almost do everything to do it. I mean, people do some pretty darn, you can turn on television, you can see people doing all kinds of things to get their way, to make money and to get power. And it's all it's all painful, actually, once you see the truth. That's a scarcity mindset, that there's not enough to go around and I better do everything I can to get my fair share. As opposed to the truth, which is we live in abundance, and that's an abundance mindset. And that says that it's a deep inner security within ourselves that we have everything we need. We can create $5,000. We can create $1 million. How is it done? We create it by adding value. We are valuable. We have valuable information. We have valuable stories, and we have a lot to offer the world and make a contribution. So when we shift from that scarcity, I don't have enough, and I better go out and get that $5,000 and my world's going to come to an end. It's just a painful way to live. We've all probably lived there at some level. And we're probably living, and I'm bringing this up today because a lot of people are really scared right now because of COVID-19 and how they used to make money, how they used to pay their bills, may not be around anymore. So they're thinking, God, these external conditions have put me in a really difficult place for a lot of people. So what I want to encourage you is to come here, and how do we shift out of that? How do we shift our minds? How do we shift from being in scarcity to truly being in a world of abundance? How do we tap into that infinite intelligence, infinite resources we have within us to create wealth and resolve problems? Contemplative prayer. To create, we pray. And we don't pray for things, by the way. That's the ego. We pray to let go of our ego. We pray to surrender to that higher power, which we're going to call infinite intelligence for right now, to take over. And what is going to happen, we begin to experience ourselves from a deeper sense of security, that we have everything we need to create everything we need in the world, particularly if we live in the United States of America. So I want to encourage you to reconsider if you're stuck right now in worrying about money. And I get it. I mean, I was literally on the edge of bankruptcy, and this was before COVID-19. This was back in 2017. It's about only 3 years ago. But I clearly live right now in the middle of all this chaos. in love, joy, and prosperity, because that's the truth. That's what there is nothing missing. I may not be able to go out and meet with people and have dinner and hug their neck and all the things that I enjoy doing. But here's ways to connect with people. And I completely retool my business for the internet, and I've got a much larger customer base now. So there are lots of ways to shift that mindset from fear, doubt, and scarcity, which is a scarcity mindset, to an abundance mindset, which is just love and joy and prosperity and the truth. You know, it's a much more exciting way to live. But I get it. We sit in that paradox, and we are scared because we don't know. But the more you learn to love yourself, that intimate part of yourself, that infinite intelligence, that creative, aware part of you, you could call it the divine self. I call her Joy the Wise Woman. It doesn't matter what you call it. We all have it. We're always creating. We're either creating consciously or unconsciously. And when we come together within ourselves, and we get quiet and we get still and we pray, we become conscious. We bring our awareness. We become conscious of our ability to create, and we create from the heart. And I see it all the time with people that I work with and coach. I had a wonderful guy. He called me the other day and he sent me a little. I'm going to tell you one story about this. This was about 5 or 6 years ago, and I used to, when I was a financial planner, I did what's called special needs planning, and I used to do workshops in different schools and places to teach people about how people who had kids with special needs, about the nuances of special needs planning, so that you could basically protect all those government benefits. And I met this lovely woman in Newark, and she invited me to come to their home to meet with her husband and talk about doing some financial planning. Now, I used to have a grading scale, and I did it. I agreed to a nominal amount of money to do the financial plan, and we agreed to that. And they hired me, and we began to work on it. And as we were sitting there, the guy her husband, he unloaded trucks at Target at night, and she worked, and they didn't have a lot of money. They lived in Newark, and they just didn't have a lot of money. But they had big hearts. And he came downstairs and he said, "I've been looking for you." And this is kind of strange. Here I am, this 60-year-old white guy in the middle of Newark in this home, and I'm sure they're in a BMW, and I'm sure they wonder, what the world is he doing here? It looked out of place. That's just called it. But when he came, he just had this big smile, and he was like, "I've been waiting on you." And we just had the best conversation. I don't know what it was, but there was something about our connection that we just felt like we've known each other forever. Well, it turned out that I just decided that I couldn't really help them from a traditional financial planning point. So I actually ended up giving them back their money. And I said, "But I can come over and kind of work with you and coach with you and see if I can help you." So I was over there one day, and I was sitting, just he and I sitting in his living room. Big black guy, just big smile, and just a big sweetheart of a guy. Thank you, Michael. I am feeling dapper today. It's great to see you. Thanks for saying hello. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I just did a video on video socials for one of my webinars, so I'm a little dressed up today. But thank you for saying that. So I was sitting there talking to him, and I said, "What do you like to do?" He says, "I'm a musician." I said, I could tell he was worried. He had all this debt, his wife, it was just a typical situation where he was just worried about money, worried about his finances, worried about what's going on with his daughter, and all kinds of things. He had a big heart because he worried, So I said, "You trust me? I want to take you on a little journey." So I took him on a little journey into his interior. Now we went back and visited his little boy, his innocent little boy, and I could tell at one point they had found it because he had tears running down his face. And when he came out of that visualization exercise that I took him through, he looked at me and I looked at him, and he said, I haven't talked to that little boy. I forgot that little boy lived in there. I got something I got to do. I got to get back into making music. I got to get back into doing what I love. That little boy wants to come alive. And you know he did? And about 6 months later, I get a text from him. And it said, I love you, Martin. I thought, well, that's nice. I love you too. And I said, what's this about? He says, I just made like $5,000 or 10,000, some crazy amount of money in a recording studio. I was so happy for him. That's what happens when you go from living in scarcity to living in the truth of abundance. Because he had a valuable talent. They didn't pay him whatever that 10,000, 15,000, whatever they paid him. I think it might have been $25,000 actually. It was, because it was almost more than he made. It's almost more than he made in a year at Target unloading trucks. And I was so happy for him, and he was just so. And he's going on to do all kind of fun things now. But that's what the transformational experience is all about. And that's what we do. We go in and we uncover that deeper truth within ourselves, and it's exciting. And he's exciting. I talked to him the other day. He's been doing a radio show or something. He's a cool guy. And he always says, Martin, I said, it ain't because of me. I just can't show up with Joy the Wise Woman, and we had a conversation with your little boy. That's what we did. And it was like it was sort of like, and I was thinking, I worked for this big fancy firm in Manhattan. We talked about it before. I have the 44th floor of this fancy office, and everybody drives BMWs. I ain't drove a BMW at the time, expensive car. So glad I don't drive a BMW now. But I thought to myself, this is the most fulfilling day I have ever had in the business of financial planning. I didn't make a dime, but it was fulfilling because I made a difference in that man's life. And that's what we're talking about. That's how we add value. That's how we make a contribution. And it'd be a few years before I went through my dark night of the soul and got into that same place with he is. As you heard from my story earlier, my spiritual teacher and therapist pulled me out of that space by questioning me, telling me I had the keys to the kingdom and I'm infinite intelligence. But you do too. I don't have anything you don't do. If you're in despair and you're feeling sad and you're scared right now with all that's going on, come with us. Come join me. Come join us in the Financial Mystic Sanctuary. I'm also about to release a book. Hey, Mindy, I want to make you aware. Hey, happy Thursday. It is a happy Thursday. Here we are. We're talking about infinite intelligence. And we all got it. We wouldn't get anything done if we didn't have some. But the beauty is, once you know how to tap into it, which you can do through prayer. Once you know how to tap into it, then it becomes your partner, so to speak, in business. I mean, Joy the Wise Woman's with me. I know when she's not around because I'm not too happy. I'm frustrated, stuck, But you can tap into that, and if you're not, join me on. I was going to tell you is I just about to launch my new ebook, the Small Business Owner Survival Guide. The Small Business Owner Survival. I've been working on it so long I forget how I can't even say it. The Small Business Owner Survival Guide, a step-to-step guide to making money and thriving during challenging times. Pretty timely, isn't it? And I'm going to give it out for free, and I'll be giving you one as soon as I get it finished. And I want you to have it. And if it can help you with your business, and you don't have to be a small business owner. The principles apply if you work for yourself, if you work for somebody else, work for a nonprofit. It doesn't matter. The same principles apply. But so I want you to have it because it's been a labor of love. I've enjoyed putting it out, and I hope it'll help people through this difficult time to get out of their own way. Because what used to work, what got them where they are today, is not going to get them now tomorrow. And same way for big businesses too. People. The key is what is the most valuable thing you can contribute to the world right now. If you want to get out of your head, sit back and start listening to the world and think, what is the most valuable thing you can contribute to the world right now? That's why I created it. That's what I'm hearing in my world of finance and money management. I'm hearing small business suffering, worried, scared, worried about money. And I said, well, you know what? I used to be that way too. And these are some things I did that got me out of that space. And I'm going to create a book and I'm going to share them with you. And that's what I got coming out soon. And be happy to give you a copy of it as soon as it probably be in next week or two. I'm working with my graphic design person to get all that kind of stuff finished up. It's a pretty book though. It's an ebook and it's got pretty pictures and all kind of fun things. And I'm also making a webinar to go with it. But I'm gonna charge for the webinar. I'm gonna charge for the package. You get the book and you need to pay for the webinar if you want more. But that's kind of how it works. I got to pay my bills too, But the book's for free. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. I want to talk about. Anybody got any questions about transformation, transforming from scarcity to abundance, and how we can tap into that infinite intelligence we all have within us by just bringing it conscious through contemplative prayer. We create through prayer. Somebody got a question. I like it when y'all ask me questions. Get comments. Otherwise, just me here pontificating. Oh, Lord of mercy. Okay. If y'all aren't going to ask me a question, we're going to meditate. And then we'll have some, then you might have some time to do some journaling, planning your day. Okay. So we do something called centering prayer. Start by raising your arms up in the air. And begin to get still. And one way to get still is to begin to focus on the life inside your hands. Feel the life force holding up your arms right now. That is the divine, that is infinite intelligence. It's what's holding you up. So just begin to embody the spirit, the energy. People today, it's so funny, God got a vote because they tried to misuse God. Now people say, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. And then that spiritual thing got a little carried away. Now I'm just going to call it energy. The energy within you, the life force within you is what's holding up your arms. We are creators of energy. We are co-creating. We are creators of energy. That spark within us. So get still and get to know it. We're going to get to know it right now. One way to do it is to let go of all your thoughts and beliefs and opinions that are in your head. And begin to allow yourself to get still. Quiet the mind. We quiet the mind by letting go. You cannot stop thoughts from coming up. As long as we're alive, we're going to be creating thoughts. They're just thoughts. They're objects. But what the human brain likes to do with those thoughts, and for good reason, because we need to be able to take thoughts and be able to do something with them. But for this practice, I want you to get comfortable with the space before, after, and around the thought. Because that's the creative, aware mind that produced the thought. So when the thought comes up, oh, goody, thought. Drop it. And listen. Listen what comes into the emptiness after the thought. Energetically put some space around the thoughts to bring infinite intelligence into consciousness, into your awareness. Let go of every thought, every opinion, every belief, every story you've ever made up about anything. Hold on to nothing, especially judgments. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it right? Is it wrong? The brain is binary. The human brain is binary. We want to transcend the binary brain into spaciousness. So let them go, hold on to nothing, and allow presence to be here. Just be. Just sit and be present. Allow that sound of the bell, that's an interval bell, to wake you up from any thought trance you might find yourself in. Let go of the thought, let go of the story, and fall back into love, fall back into emptiness, fall back into stillness. Feel your way deeper inside. Oh, wake up, drop the thought, fall back, create some space around it. Now that bell lets us know when we've finished our 20 minutes of stillness. How you feeling? What was that experience like for you today? It's a nice, cool, crisp day, isn't it? You feeling into that infinite intelligence? If you're struggling, let go of trying to find it and just let it come. One thing you might try to do after we finish here is to, yeah, we do that. We nod off a bit. I do that too. I'm not a jerk. Yeah, it's just what we do. It's at the moment, we needed a little sleep. It's all right. It's all good. It's all well. That's what we needed. Um, if you want a little exercise to tap into that infinite intelligence, that infinite intelligence was that little boy in my story of my friend who tapped into that. That's what we do. We tap into that innocent part of ourselves before we get corrupted with all kinds of stuff, and you could do this, and I encourage you to, is to sit down and quietly and think about yourself as a little boy or little girl at a time when you really enjoyed life. You didn't worry about too much. You just enjoyed life, and go back in that time and think of what you really enjoyed doing. Whether, like for me, I enjoyed riding a bicycle in the woods and adventuring in the woods. I still love to go around not too far from here and walk in the woods in the morning, and because it brings back those imprints of just that adventure in me, that adventurer. And so go back and sit for a few minutes and think back in a time when you were a young boy or a young girl and what you love to do, and visualize yourself, feel yourself back into that moment. And then come back and sit with your journal and write about it. And write about it in the third person. Like when Martin was a little boy, he loved to do that. And really allow yourself to feel into the writing of that story. And allow yourself to tap into that innocence within yourself. And just see what happens. And then what you might want to do is to look at what you're doing today in the world. And are you doing something that's as fun and enjoyable as what you did when you were a little boy or a little girl? And if you are, fine, do more of it. But if you find yourself doing things or spending most of your time doing things that are in conflict with that, what would you need to do? Or what could you do? What strategy could you come up with that would allow you to get in alignment again, so that you're spending your time making money and doing the, like my friend who was a musician, because I promise you, you'll make more money, you'll have more fun if you're in alignment with that deeper truth of who you are. You know, maybe you were told you can't make money as a poet. Well, bull. Jane Oliver made a lot. I mean, what's her name? Oliver. I can't think of her name. Mary Oliver. She did quite well. People can do quite well as poets. You've got. I don't make any money, but this is my ground. This fulfills me. Now I hope I'll make a little money with some of my courses that I'm coming on with people, with my tutoring and my coaching. But this is where ground. This is what gets me in touch with that infinite intelligence. So I have something to share. So as an exercise, you might want to get your journal out and write a little bit about yourself as a little boy, a little girl, what you love to do, and how you might be able to bring that more into your world right now as you're doing this big time out. Just see what happens. Come share it. Share it on the Financial Mystic Sanctuary Facebook page. Share your stories there. You know, I share this every day there. So, but I'm trying to encourage people to really participate. You know, write your stuff. People want to hear your story. They get tired of hearing my old same story over and over. So share yours. I want to hear your story. So with that, enough said for me. Anybody got anything they want to add before we sign out today? Guess not. Okay. Well, y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and may love and prosperity prevail.